We turned the We Will Rock You song into a dance that resembles tininkling, a Philippine folk dance. Instead of using bamboo poles, we use hula hoops. In order to teach this dance, I have a hula hoop resemble a clock. This is very helpful when teaching the last pattern of the dance. Before I get into each pattern, there are a few rules that apply to all three patterns. First, each pattern is a total of 3 beats. The first 2 beats, the student will always have their feet inside the hoop, and the last beat will always be on the outside of the hoop. The last rule is to have students demonstrate a short 1-second pause after the 3rd beat. There are 3 main patterns to the dance: singles, across, and turning. Singles is the first pattern. On the first 2 beats, a student hops twice in the middle of the hula hoop with their inside foot and then hops to their outside foot outside the hoop on the last beat. We do each pattern 8 times before we move to the next pattern. The second pattern is across. During this pattern, students will hop across their hoop without crossing their feet to the other side of the hoop, where they will then again pause on the 3rd beat. Once we do this pattern 8 times, we'll go to the next pattern. Turning is the 3rd pattern and can be difficult for students to grasp, so I use a clock diagram as a visual support for this pattern. If you notice the diagram, I use the numbers 3, 6, 9, and 12 on the outside of the clock, and I do this to represent the student's outside foot. So if a student starts the dance at 9 o'clock, the first 2 beats would be on their right foot on the 10 and 11 o'clock, and the last beat would be on their left foot at 12 o'clock, with a pause. So as the students are demonstrating turning, they're moving around their hoop a quarter of the way each 3 beats or 1 pattern. In order for students to complete this pattern 8 times, they must have traveled around their hoop twice. Notice the pattern goes singles across, singles turning, singles across, singles turning. So I always tell my students that if they are struggling and get off beat, that they can just stop and try to get back on beat when we go back to singles. When I teach this, I mirror the students from in front of the class so I can watch to see if they're all staying together. I also help the students know when to transition to the next pattern. So if I'm counting the beat 1, 2, 3, or right, right, left, I say what number beat we're on. For example, if we're on the 7th beat, the last beat, I'll say the pattern we're about to do next. So I'll say like, next 1, turning, or back 2, singles. I really like this dance because I have my 5th graders teach my 4th graders, and then I have my 4th graders teach my 3rd graders this dance, and it's very empowering for them to be in the teacher role.